Hi, I'm Odalyn. At my brother's wedding, they pinned a name tag on my grandmother that read, "The old lady who will pay for everything." After draining her of nearly 3.5 million, they called her selfish. And when I spoke up, my father hit me so hard my blood splattered across the ballroom floor. Then he threw me out like trash. As I stood bleeding in the parking lot, I realized this wasn't just about money. They'd stolen everything: dignity, loyalty, love. But they made one mistake. They thought I'd stay silent. Have you ever had your own family treat you like you didn't matter? Tell me in the comments. And stay with me, because what happened next still haunts them. The ballroom smelled of vanilla candles and overcooked chicken. My heels clicked against the marble as I walked in, pretending this was a celebration. It wasn't. Near the doorway stood Muriel, my grandmother, small, lost, and pinned to her chest was a name tag, "The old lady who will pay for everything." For a second, I thought I misread it, but no one laughed. No one cared. My mother sipped wine. My father's voice sliced through when I reached for the tag. "Don't make a scene, Odalyn. What is this?" I whispered. "You always ruin what's not about you," my mother murmured without looking up. Muriel didn't speak. She just shuffled away, shoulders bent under a weight heavier than age. I sat through the toasts, nails biting my palms, until my father grabbed the mic. "Let's thank Muriel for making this day possible," he said, grinning. "After all, what's family for?" Laughter erupted. Something inside me snapped. "Did she agree to this?" I shouted. "Or did you steal from her? $3.5 million gone!" Silence slammed the room. My father's smile vanished. "Odalyn, sit down." "No, she's not your ATM, she's—" The slap came fast. My cheek burned. Blood filled my mouth. Gasps. Chairs scraped. No one moved. No one helped. My mother leaned close, her voice like poison. "She's not family anymore." Security dragged me out. My heels scraped marble. Outside, the night air cut like knives. Behind me, laughter roared on, like nothing happened. I pressed my palm to my bleeding lip and stared at the glowing windows. That was the moment something shattered, or maybe something finally woke up. The parking lot was dark, wind slicing through satin like knives. I walked until the ballroom lights vanished behind me. No phone, no purse, just blood on my lip and the echo of laughter. I kept moving. Past shuttered shops, empty streets, a 7-Eleven buzzing under flickering light. I sank onto the curb, hugging myself. For the first time in my life, I had nowhere to go. My fingers pressed the split in my lip. The sting burned, but not as much as the shame. The voices wouldn't stop. "You ruin everything. You're not family anymore." Headlights cut through the dark. I froze, ready for another blow, until the door opened and Muriel stepped out. Frail, silent, clutching the silver shawl I gave her last Christmas. She draped it over me like a shield, then opened the passenger door. Her apartment smelled of lavender and dust. Small, safe. She pointed to the couch. Minutes later, she returned with a damp cloth. Her hands shook as she cleaned my lip, gentler than anyone had in years. When she finished, she brewed tea, still silent. Finally, her voice broke the air. "They took everything." I stared at her. $3.5 million, she whispered. "Your grandfather's inheritance, the shares, the savings, all gone." The words hit like a freight train. "How?" "They said I was too old. Brought papers. Said it was temporary." She looked down. I believed them. Anger crawled up my spine, sharp and cold. They didn't just humiliate her. They gutted her life, and I let it happen. Muriel's voice cracked. "I thought they loved me." I pulled the shawl tight around my shoulders. "They don't get to win," I said softly. For the first time, she met my eyes, and in them, a flicker of something fragile. Hope. I woke to silence. Muriel slept curled under her thin blanket, her breathing soft, uneven. I sat in the armchair, her silver shawl draped across my lap like armor, staring at the cracks in the ceiling like they held answers. My body buzzed with exhaustion, but my mind wouldn't stop. Out of habit, I reached for my phone. Dead. But then I remembered. Photos auto-backed up. I grabbed Muriel's old tablet, logged into the cloud. The wedding album loaded in a blur. Smiling faces, champagne flutes, glittering chandeliers. Then one frame froze me. In the corner sat an estate attorney, the same one who worked with my father years ago. Why was he there? I kept scrolling, searching for a clue. My gut twisted. That night wasn't just vows and cake, it was business. They closed something legal right under my nose. I needed answers. I texted Amy, the only friend who still answered my calls. Need legal advice. Urgent. We met at dawn in a diner that smelled like burnt coffee and old secrets. Amy listened without interrupting, then said the words that hollowed me out. If Muriel can't prove competence, they keep everything. But if she can, even briefly, we challenge guardianship. She's fine, I whispered, desperate. Amy shook her head. Truth doesn't matter. Proof does. Fail. And the state takes her. Permanently. The air in my lungs turned to ice. Then Amy leaned closer. Your father's scared. We pulled bank trails. He's been siphoning her funds into shell companies for years. Odie, this isn't family drama, it's fraud. Hours later, back in the apartment, I stared at Muriel sitting small in the morning light. They'll come for you, I said. They already have, she whispered. That night, I zipped her documents into a worn tote. My pulse spiked as a low hum cut through the blinds. Headlights. I froze. A black SUV idled across the street, engine running, windows dark. Watching. The pounding started just after sunrise. Sharp, relentless, rattling the frame. I shot up from the couch, heart hammering. Muriel stirred behind me, whispering my name, voice thin with fear. Then his voice. Open the door, Odilon. Dad. Through the peephole I saw him, Mom at his side and a man in a charcoal suit holding a folder. A lawyer. You're harboring someone declared mentally unfit, Dad barked. Open this door now. Mom's tone was venom in silk. She's exploiting Muriel. Always has been. An envelope slid under the door. Notice of legal action. Intent to remove Muriel for psychiatric evaluation within 24 hours. Behind me, Muriel sobbed. I signed something, she whispered. They told me I was confused. Another bang shook the frame. This is your last warning. I texted Amy with shaking fingers. They're here. Seconds later, her reply. Keep it locked. Filing emergency motion now. Finally, silence. But it wasn't over. That night, Amy came with one sentence that flipped the board. Your father's been laundering Muriel's estate through shell companies. If we prove it, he burns. Proof meant the original will. Muriel whispered where it was, her storage unit. Midnight. Rain-slick streets. Amy drove. My pulse pounded as we reached the unit. The door was ajar. Inside, under a single bulb, stood Clarice. Calm. Waiting. You should have walked away, she hissed. Push this and Muriel rots in a state home. You'll lose everything. I stepped forward. You wouldn't be here if you weren't scared. Her jaw clenched. Then she shoved past me and vanished into the night. In the back, Amy pried open a locked box. Inside, my grandfather's will, naming Muriel sole owner of everything. In his own shaky hand, protect her, no interference. Amy's voice was a whisper of fire. This ends tomorrow. The courthouse felt colder than the snowstorm weeks ago. Muriel's silver shawl clung to her shoulders like armor. Amy stood beside us, jaw tight, folder in hand. Inside, Grady and Clarice looked polished, smug, until Amy began. One by one, she laid it all out. Shell companies, guardianship fraud, and the original will with Grandpa's handwritten note. Protect her. No interference. The judge's brow furrowed. The lawyer stammered. Then Amy played the recording. Clarice's hiss from the storage unit. Push this, and Muriel rots in a state home. Gasps. Clarice went pale, and Grady snapped, shouting, She's confused! Always has been! Sit down, the judge ordered, voice like iron. When the gavel fell, it felt like thunder. Guardianship dissolved. Control restored to Muriel. Financial investigation opened immediately. Outside, under a bruised sky, Muriel squeezed my hand. "I thought I lost everything," she whispered. "Not while I'm breathing," I said. Weeks later, her apartment smelled of weak coffee and peace. She rewrote her will. Not for money, but for dignity. That night, I sat on her porch, shawl draped over my lap, thinking of everything they tried to take, and how silence almost let them. People ask if I regret speaking up. No, because silence doesn't keep peace. It keeps chains polished. If it were you, would you fight or keep the family secret? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone.